it's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on FlossTube, coming to you on this Monday morning. It's about 8:30 or so, and I am beading on Lady of the Flag, which most of you will know because I've posted about it on social media. Anyway, so I have promised for literal years now to do a bit of a beading demo slash tutorial. Some people are intimidated by beading. It's my favorite thing ever. And so I thought, well, this is a prime opportunity. I am trying to finish Lady of the Flag today. I don't know if it's going to happen, and it's okay if it doesn't, but I figured while I'm here, I might as well show you guys how I do things and kind of explain why, and go from there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how I set up my needle, and then I am going to bead a little bit so that you guys can see the process. So before I get started, let me talk to you about a couple of important things for me that I kind of have to have. Obvious things, I have my tacky bob, excuse the dirtiness, but so I have my beads piled and laid out. For reference, I create this little map, so I know that the symbol for the plus sign is those right there, the matte white beads, and those sort of iridescent purple ones are the bullseye, etc. I create this little map so that I know what the heck is going on, so I know which beads are where. Now I've been beading for the last couple of days, and so I know which symbols are which, but it helps in the beginning to draw that out. So I start there. Off camera you can't see it, but I have my chart, obviously. My favorite beading needles are those that come in the Mill Hill bead kits. They're fabulous beading needles, not only for the perforated paper, but also for fabric projects. And it used to be that I would hoard my beading needles from those bead projects, from the Mill Hill kits, and then I would just use them basically until they burned out. And then I discovered that those beading needles are actually Mill Hill applique beading needles. Let's see if I can get this in camera. There we go. So I ordered these. I think I ordered them from Stony Creek. Excuse the sad state of my nails. I think I ordered these from Stony Creek, and if I'm not mistaken, and they come in packs of 2, and I've ordered several packs. Shaking a little bit. The coffee was strong this morning. So these are fabulous. They have, let me see if I can, no, not through the plastic. Let me pull an old one. So I burn through needles, and so this is heavily tarnished, but see if I can get it to focus. It's not going to focus. It has a tiny eye. It's an absolutely impossible to see eye. Maybe it'll focus. There we go. Okay, found the sweet spot. So it has a teeny tiny eye. It's a really thin needle. It's thinner than my size 28s. It's relatively long, but it's not those crazy long beading needles, which always stab me. These stab me sometimes, but not near to that frequency. So I love these. They are my favorites. And then beading thread. For me, you cannot go wrong with Nymo. And obviously I'm getting down to the wire here. I have another spool, but I'm hoping that I can just finish this project with this and save that spool for later. This is 08 Nymo, and it is the white variety. So you can see these pale orange beads. They are they're like a pale honey color, but they are basically crystal. and you can't see the thread running through there or underneath or around any of the beads over here. Yeah, you can't see the thread, so it's invisible, but only almost. And so it's not near as annoying as that YLI invisible beading thread. It is much easier to use. So let's talk about how I load my needle. This is different than I do for anything else. And I have a short length here to try to demonstrate this. I normally do much longer lengths. And the reason for that is, number one, I hate rethreading my needle so frequently, and I use this double-stranded. So here it is single-stranded, and I'm going to fold it in half. And so I have, you can probably barely see that, 2 strands there, and I'm going to thread my needle with both of those. I have both strands on my needle, like that. Now, here's an important thing for me. I will essentially lock the thread on my needle, and to do that, I pull the loop up, so I've got the needle here floating in the middle, right there, and then I have the loop at the other end that you may be able to see. Yeah, there we go. So then, I know it's a little fuzzy because my camera's going to take 8 years to focus. So I'm going to run those 2 threads through that loop, and then pull tight. Okay, so this thread is locked on my needle. There's a couple of reasons I do that. First of all, it means that I can eke out as much meterage, essentially, as humanly possible, without having to rethread my needle or any shenanigans like that. The other thing is that NYMO is a little slippery, and by locking it here, it's not going to slip and slide. My ends aren't going to slip out. It's all there and good to go. The other reason, so then some people have said, well, why don't you just run a single strand through and then your needle is locked at the center no matter what. So essentially creating a loop, or doubling the beading thread and then running the needle to the middle of that so that it's essentially at the loop section, so that when you catch the tails, it's all locked in. The reason that I do it like this is that I can undo this. And if I was to just put the needle at the center of the thread and go from there, I can't undo that if I need to. And it's a really simple thing. I don't know what knot this is. I want to say it's a slip knot, but don't quote me on that. So you can see that loop there. Watch this. I'm going to loosen up, and you can see I made that loop a lot bigger. I can slip my needle out of that. So I just bring the loop to the other end, slip it off, then I'm back to this as it was before. So with the ends coming out of one side and the loop on the other. So then, if I want to put it back on, I just run my needle through that loop again, like this, and pull. And it's locked on there. And that is really, really, really helpful. Let's say you place the wrong color bead, and this happened to me just a little bit ago. I placed the wrong color bead, and could I potentially try to run my needle through to try to pull that bead off? Yes, however, NYMO is kind of a flat thread, and it's splitty. So if you stick this relatively sharp, fine-pointed needle through that NYMO, it will split the threads. And then you end up with this knotted mess. Ask me how I know this. And it's just an absolute bear to handle. So I like to do it this way so that I can undo it if I need to or not. And so there is that. So that's how I attach the thread to the needle. Okay, so I guess I probably should go over this before I go radio silent. All right, so I bring the thread up at, again, this is under the theory that my X's go bottom left to top right and then bottom right to top left. Okay, so my needle came up at the bottom left of the stitch where the bead is going to go. Now, I don't have it attached to the back yet. I could do the, the Bargello tuck for that, but I just like to do it this way. So I'm going to not pull this as far as it will go, because obviously it'll pop out. And then I'm going to pick up a bead and then come down. Now, I am going to flip to the back and catch the two threads. But I can't do that while on camera. There's just not enough space for my frame to flip around, so I will be back in just a second. Okay, so I have attached the thread, and you can see I can tug, and it's good. It's just like catching the tails in the back like with anything else. And my bead is set on the diagonal. Now, Mirabilias tell you to set the bead on a diagonal, just use a half stitch. But there's a couple of reasons why I do a full stitch. First of all, for security. This is stable, but not as stable as I would like it. The other reason is that I just like the orientation of it being up and down. So I am going to go through it again. So the way that I do that in order to get it to go up and down is that I come through the bottom of the bead and out the top, just like that. Pull my needle through. And then I'm going to go down in the top left, just as if I was doing a regular cross stitch with thread. Ta-da! Bead attached. Okay. Now I will come next door and do the next one. Now with beading, I generally speaking will do one bead at a time. I'm not going to do like all the beads in a row and then come back through. Things just get a little bit too confusing for me, so I just like to do it one bead at a time. I wanted to try to get to one of these silver beads because they are my absolute favorites of the beads in this design. There are only 5 colors, and they're pretty neutral, but these silver beads, these like gunmetal silver, they are gorgeous. And they are used so infrequently. Now, one thing I got to tell you guys is that these beads are the delicas that I did a conversion for, because I just like the way that delicas look. I like how nicely they sit together. You guys can see, I know the sparkle from the Petite Treasure braid is kind of taking away from the sparkle of the beads, but they just sit so nicely together. I can get upwards of 5 beads to sit next to each other in delicas, whereas I would never be able to get 5 in Mill Hill to sit together like that. They're not as uniform. And I know that I have talked about this several times over the years, but yeah, I really dig the delicas. So I think I can get probably one more bead out of this thread, and then I'm gonna have to attach a new one. As of now, before these beads that I have put on with you guys, I have done 1,087 beads. And I still have a pretty large portion of beads to go. So I think I'm probably going to crest 1,500 or 1,600 before all is said and done. I think I can get one more. I am constantly trying to squeeze as many beads out of this thread as I possibly can, because I have such a finite amount of this particular weight. The O weight is just my absolute favorite. I will use B weight, but anything really heavier than that, and I'm not a huge fan of it for beading double-stranded like I do. It'll work, but it's not how I like to do things, and I can be kind of particular. So I try to eke out every last inch if I can. And some of y'all will know that I am not exactly the most frugal with thread under normal circumstances, but this is different. And I usually gauge it if when I bring the needle up at a stitch and I can't reach the pile of beads when they are this close to it, then I know that I have reached the end. So I'm going to sneak in one more. I think that that's probably going to do it. Oh yeah, this is it. When it gets difficult to get the needle back through because the needle is too long, then it's done. All right, so that is it for that thread. I will be back with my next one attached, and I think I'll bead with you guys for just a little while longer. And we're back. This time I have a much longer thread to play with. So I think that what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bead for a little while, sit back and listen to the music or whatever you choose. And once I finish this thread, I will head off. you guys haven't even been able to see these last few beads that I've done all the way down here. But yeah, that is about everything that I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your continued support of me, my channel. Thank you for liking and subscribing. If you have any questions about beading or pretty much anything, feel free to leave your questions in the comments below. I will be back probably on Wednesday, maybe later today, because I think I'm going to upload this on Tuesday, with another update video. And yeah, I will see you guys then. Thanks again. Bye-bye.